Today I have a special guest with me. This is Brian Kelly. Brian, how are you doing today?
Hi, how are you doing, man? I'm good,
I'm
thank you.
doing good. Thanks. I am doing good as well. So, Brian, let's start out with sharing your story of how you found the carnivore diet, and what what your life was like before the diet, and then what results you've seen from doing carnivore.
Yeah, basically, I was your typical 52-year-old guy. I work in construction, and somebody took a photograph of me in July of 23. And well, it wasn't a direct photo of me. I happened to be in a photo that was spread on a WhatsApp group on the construction site. So maybe 500 people saw it. And it clearly showed that I had a huge gut. I had inflammation on my body everywhere on this photograph. It just looked horrible. And uh, when that went up, I felt so embarrassed that that's the way I looked. And from that moment, that was the defining moment that I decided to start doing something for me and my body and my future. Yeah, I started slowly, not knowing which direction I was going to take with it, but I knew I was determined that something had to change. So I started researching and researching and researching. I found, you know, different videos about cutting out carbs, cutting out processed foods. So I started doing all of these things gradually, inadvertently ending up on ketogenic diet without really realizing that that's what I was on. But if you keep cutting out everything, you end up kind of there. So it was all natural foods, but I still was eating vegetables and things like that, fruit and vegetables and cereals, I guess, a little bit maybe. But I also included intermittent fasting. I had found that. And I found that that started me losing weight quite a bit. So I was kind of that way for 6 months, and I was seeing results. The weight was shifting. I was starting to feel a lot better, and I started up on my protein intake. I used to eat a lot of eggs, that kind of thing. So I really started feeling good about this. And then I discovered Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, all of these guys that were really promoting the carnivore diet. And I started looking into the carnivore diet. I said, yeah, that's for me. They're the results I want. And boom, it just skyrocketed my results. The weight just disappeared completely, um, among a lot of other things. So that's roughly my start. From then on, in 20 last year, my dad sadly passed away um, of a terrible stroke, and I've been researching, what went wrong with him and how the medical system let him down, and the drugs he was on, and the advice he was getting from doctors, and I got so annoyed at how the system had let him down. I felt so annoyed that I didn't know what I know now many years ago, um, of the effect of the true human diet. Um, I could have done something more to help him, but it was too late. Um, so I went through a horrible thing myself. What I don't want in my future is for me to go that way and for my kids to have to suffer like that, like I did, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my motivation. I want to stay like this. I feel that good on the carnivore diet. It's never going to change for me. I'm not going back ever to the old ways. My fitness levels are back to my 30s, even beyond that. I would say mid 20s. I feel as fit as that. Um, I've lately started sprinting, and I had gout also before I started carnivore, and that's disappeared. Um, yeah, there's many things that have disappeared. I've reached the pinnacle of the amount of weight I want to lose. I'm down to 69 kilos, which is far past what I thought I could get to. Um, and now reading all I'm reading about longevity and all of that, I want to start to build a little bit of muscle. Not talking about getting into bodybuilding as such, but they say that the stronger your thigh muscles are as you get on to later years, they say that it helps out your body a lot. So, and to help your later years in life being stronger. So that's my goal now.
So, quick question. You mentioned that you work in construction. So, I'm
That's
assuming
true.
that you do get a lot of exercise. But in terms of looking to build muscle, what types of things are you looking to do outside of what you do in construction to build that muscle?
Right. Well, let me define. I'm actually a construction manager. So
Okay.
I don't do any physical work on site. I used to when I was younger. I do a lot of walking. I could maybe do 20,000 steps a day easily uh, at my job because I visit everybody on site all day long, mostly. Yeah, I found that I can do that a lot easier right now because of my upgraded fitness. And
Yeah.
yeah, but getting stronger won't really affect me in my job, but yeah, it's for older years. It's stop the downward
Yeah.
spiral in the later years. That's what I'm looking to achieve. So
So it's funny listening to you tell your story because I've talked to a lot of different people before, and they all kind of have that same thing. It's not necessarily the same story, but it's always this type of thing happened. I saw
yeah,
this picture of me, or something happened that I couldn't do this anymore, and I
a
was
trigger.
like,
Yeah,
that yeah, like that was the switch that I now needed to do something. And that
yeah,
seems to be the key. Like everybody has that big why that really
exactly.
motivates them.
The why. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about, you mentioned the gout.
Yes.
Um, I'm assuming that you had probably some other type of inflammation type of issues. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. Sciatica used to affect me badly. The lower back pain and used to cripple me sometimes. Maybe twice a year, I would get a serious bout of sciatica, which is, is inflammation around the spine, at the base of the spine, and it
Mm,
traps the nerve. And yeah, it's excruciatingly painful. And I haven't had that for 2 years now. So yeah, my spine feels very flexible. Um, yeah, otherwise, I mean, inflammation is a big word. Um, yeah, every joint in my body is so free and flexible. Uh, whereas, I was getting stiffer. I was getting
mm,
stiffer all the time. I had given up bass playing because I just couldn't make the notes anymore. The fingers weren't quick enough, but that's gone now. I can play bass again. Not that I play much, but it's nice to practice. So I noticed I had serious problems with mucus. Um, that's gone away. Uh, I had tinnitus, which is a biggie. I had constant ringing in my ears for about 20 years. And I used to blame that on construction noise or even being in bands in my youth. Uh, Loud noises, that's what they tell us it's about. And and there's no cure for tinnitus. That's baloney. Carnivore cures tinnitus. It's gone completely. Um, Sleep apnea was something that affected me very badly. I had actually gone so far as to do some tests. I'd been at a, what do they call them? Ear, nose, and throat specialist,
mm.
and got the test done where they put you on a machine overnight. And yeah, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. and yeah, they were ready to prescribe drugs, but yeah, I wasn't having that. That was 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, that's gone. I sleep like a log now.
How
You know,
quickly did you notice changes?
it's difficult to say, but I mean, gradually over the first year, a lot of it, at least, very much improved. But now I'm calculating that yeah, about 18 months did it for all of these things to just dry up and disappear. About 18 months,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and they've stayed away. They stayed away because I'm constant. I'm still on the full carnivore diet. So. Like I said, working in construction in my early years, um, I'm a carpenter by trade, and I use the hammer a lot. And these three fingers on my left hand, because of the vibrations of the hammer, I used to get vibration white finger. Okay, so that's where during cold periods, the circulation would stop to those three fingers, and they'd go pure white. So at temperatures of, I'm sorry, I'm in Europe, 0 degrees down uh, Celsius, these would go numb, and you get pins and needles, and it was very painful. Uh, and I know that there's a lot of guys that work in construction that use jackhammers. I knew one guy, he was an Australian guy. He had vibration white finger all the way up to his shoulders, both of them, from working on the roads. And if I could help some of those guys to alleviate some of that pain in the wintertime, it would be a blessing for me. So
So, what would you say a typical day is for you in terms of eating? Do you eat like once or twice a day? And like what types of foods do you eat?
yeah, it varies a bit. Um, like I said, I still continue the intermittent fasting, even though I don't need to lose any more weight. It's not about the weight for me anymore. It's about the autophagy, the ketosis, um, and the cleaning up of the body. Um, so yeah, typically um, 1 or 2 meals a day within a short window. So I'd eat, for example, at 10 a.m. And if I felt satiated at 2, I would keep going. If I still felt I was full enough, then I would keep going until the next day. Um, or if I felt I could do with an extra bit of fats and proteins, I would take a second meal at 2 o'clock, but that would be it for the day. Very short window, 4 hours. I don't think anything of going to 48 hours. I do that quite often. Often when I'm traveling, I'll skip an entire day. I fly a lot. I work in different parts of Europe, different times. Um, and I travel back to my home in Copenhagen, in Denmark, every 3 weeks. So about once every 3 weeks, I'll do a 48-hour fast. Yeah, it's just the easiest thing to do when you're traveling is to not eat.
Yeah.
There's no food noise, you know.
Yeah.
What do I eat? I like a good steak now and again. I'm here in the Netherlands at the moment. I found a local farm, regenerative farm, where I buy my meat directly from their farm shop. Uh, Normally ribeye and also their ground beef. Um, their eggs as well, and they do raw milk. So when I'm at work in the Netherlands, I have access to the most wonderful food on the planet, which really makes me feel good. So yeah, I have a similar thing in Denmark as well. So that's me. My supermarket trips are very small. Might go for butter or cheese, whatever, you know. So yeah, that's it. So a typical day, I cook in the evening for the next day because obviously I'm at work. So I've got to reheat it at work, but that doesn't bother me. So I'll cook up. I'm going to do some later. Uh, Maybe a dozen eggs, whichever way, either scrambled or whatever. them in my glass bowl, my glass lunchbox. Yeah, maybe some burger patties that I make from the mincemeat from the, from the ground beef, should I say? Sorry, Europe and American thing. Um, the ground beef I make patties out of. I'll bring some of them. Maybe I'd have cooked a steak at the weekend. It could be like leftovers. Yeah, that's basically the bones of my diet. It's beef. It's more or less the
Yeah.
BBBE, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I do a little bit of bacon as well. But again, only clean bacon from a farm that I know that those pigs are raised outside and they're rummaging through the forest and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I know they're clean.
You mentioned to me offline that you're studying to be a carnivore coach or nutrition coach. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, like what you're doing and what your plans are for that?
Yeah, well, I'm currently doing an online course with Coach Carnivore Peter. Uh, it's very intensive. It goes into depth about the science and the gut microbiome, gluconeogenesis, the Randall cycle, all these kind of things that gives you so much knowledge into why the carnivore diet works. How does it work? Why does it work? Um, it gives you all the answers to all those questions we get. What about vitamin C and all these things, So it really, each module is carefully thought out, and I really, really enjoy the course and the learning aspect to it with a few modules left. Um, so, yeah, I intend to get my certification before I roll into any kind of coaching. I'm practicing with one or two guys on the QT um, that are trying. And I'm doing it for free. I'm learning how to help them before I start making, you know, offers to people online. I'll get the certification first and maybe spread things a bit wider then. At the moment, I'm only on Instagram with my hunter-gatherer mindset idea. I've only got Instagram account, but I intend to spread it to all platforms once I get my certification, and I'm going to make them more meaningful then.
Yeah. And you've
Like I said,
mentioned
yeah,
I was going to say you mentioned before in this interview how you want to reach other people, like for instance, other people in construction that have had different issues. Like you talked about the people with the I don't remember the exact name. I'm sorry, but the technical term, but the
vibration, white
vibration.
finger. It's a
Yeah,
big
there you go.
thing. It's a big thing as construction. A lot of guys suffer from it, and
Yeah,
I'm hoping to put together some kind of a program that I can roll out on construction sites. There's a lot of work at the moment in data centers and all these massive construction projects that are going on at the moment, and I see nothing but inflammation, obesity, sluggishness. I mean, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of guys that could benefit from changing some of their habits.
mm,
And I want to look at putting together some kind of a program that I might be able to roll out with companies and maybe step back from my role as a construction manager and look at traveling and helping to spread the word about this.
yeah,
That's my ultimate goal is to spread the word because all of those guys have kids at home and families and they're suffering. A guy died of a heart attack on site. He was 52 and he
mm,
was obese and yeah, struggling. And that's becoming more and more common.
yeah,
So I feel it my duty now that I know what I know that when I get certified that I need to put some kind of a program together to try and help some of these guys as well.
yeah. That is great because most people that are in the state that they're in isn't because they know that
Exactly.
there's a better way. It's because they don't know that there's a better way and they're struggling with
They just don't
everything.
understand. I was that person. I was that
Yeah.
person. I mean, I was taking in carbohydrates. I didn't know they turned to sugars. Um, And yeah, it's just not knowing, and going to the doctors, ending up on all these drugs and not getting anywhere, just going downhill all the time. And the next thing, it's a heart attack, and their family are suffering as well. So I want to take that and run with it when I get certified, which hopefully about another month I'm done with it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
said that about, carbohydrates turning into sugar, into glucose.
yeah,
Because I hear that all the time. Like people be like, I cut down on the amount of sugar I eat, but then they're still eating like bread and so forth and
yeah, yeah,
processed foods. And it's like, but that's turning
yeah,
into sugar in your body. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got meat in my diet. I eat McDonald's twice a week. Yeah, that's good
yeah,
for you.
yeah, right.
Also, seed oils. That's another big subject. I
Mhm.
never use them much, but now I render my own lard. Um, and a little bit of tallow just for an experiment last night. I want to make I just used a tiny bit. I want to make a face cream for myself, uh, just to try it out as an anti-wrinkle thing I have in my head with
Yeah.
yeah, beef tallow and beeswax.
Hmm.
So yeah, you experiment with so many different things when you realize how good these fats are for us. How we've been taught
Yep.
so wrong, uh, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the way it's been since the 1960s or so. God bless Anson Keys. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned your Instagram account, and I'm going to have a link to that in the description of this video so people can reach you there. That
Okay.
sounds like that's the best way for people to reach you. Um, so
Uh,
you also mentioned that you're probably about a month on getting your certification. So I'm assuming probably sometime after that, you're going to be ready to start looking at clients. That might be a
exactly.
good time to have you come back and talk again. And before we finish off the interview here, let me ask you if there was one thing that you could tell the viewers out there about the carnivore diet, what would it be?
Just by eliminating processed foods from your life, um, and carbohydrates, which turn to sugar, and all the junk, and get the food noise out of your system. Um, the carnivore diet makes the most sense. It nourishes your body with wonderful fats and protein, and it's the way we evolved. That's the whole point behind the hunter-gatherer, is that that's how we evolved as a species. And there's no way that that's bad for us because, before all this processed junk, we were doing okay. We were doing fine right up to, you know, 200 years ago. You've often heard the likes of Dr. Anthony Chaffee say that, he's often mentioned hunter gatherers. But I've had this long before anybody started mentioning that. So yeah, that's why, I mean, a lot of my posts are about the carnivore, but I also have another couple of fiddles, which would be grounding, putting your bare feet on the ground, sunshine, which is essential for vitamin D3, as you know, uh, and getting back into nature, especially. Get out of these concrete boxes, get your feet on the ground. Doesn't matter whether it's a park or a lake or whatever, beach. Get out more, get off these screens. Not this one right now, but uh, yeah, that's what I would leave behind. That would be my message. This has changed my life completely. I have so much energy. I'm feeling so fit. When 2 years ago I was fat and sluggish, I was. I've lost so much weight, and it's made me feel amazing. I can run up staircases now in airports, 2 steps at a time. I couldn't do that anywhere near it. Um, 2 years ago, couldn't do it. I'd run out of breath 5 steps up. You know. So it's done amazing things for me. So yeah, try it. It won't kill you. Believe me. We've been doing it for oh 2 million years. Believe it or not.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, for
Yeah.
joining today. And I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yeah, that was a nice chat. Yeah, anytime, man.